Every headline has a hidden story. Welcome to the Leak News Media, bringing you breaking news, celebrity headlines, and true crime that keeps the world talking. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The truth is out there. We're here to leak it. Imagine escaping prison, hijacking a commercial airplane, disappearing for nearly 40 years, and still ending up on the FBI's most wanted list. This is the incredible true story of George Edward Wright, one of America's most notorious fugitives. George Edward Wright was convicted after a deadly 1962 gas station robbery in New Jersey that left a man dead. He was sentenced to 15 to 30 years in prison. But in 1970, after serving only part of that sentence, Wright escaped from prison and disappeared, triggering a nationwide manhunt. Just 2 years later, Wright became the central figure in one of the most daring airplane hijackings in U.S. history. In July 1972, he and several accomplices boarded a Delta Airlines flight using fake identities. According to the FBI, Wright disguised himself as a minister and hid a handgun inside a Bible. Once the plane was in the air, the group took control of the aircraft and demanded a ransom. After the passengers were safely released, the hijackers forced the crew to fly across the Atlantic to Algeria. The plane and ransom money were eventually recovered, but Wright escaped once again. For decades, George Wright managed to avoid capture by living under a false identity. He eventually settled in Portugal, where he reportedly built a quiet life, married, and blended into the community. Most people around him had no idea they were living next door to one of America's longest-running fugitives. In 2011, Portuguese authorities finally arrested Wright after more than 40 years on the run. But despite the arrest, Portugal refused to extradite him to the United States. He was released and has never returned to face his remaining charges. After digging a little deeper into the case, I found something that surprised me. Even though George Wright was finally arrested in Portugal after more than 40 years on the run, he was never sent back to the United States. The reason: Portuguese courts ruled that Wright had become a Portuguese citizen, and under Portugal's legal system, too much time had passed to extradite him for his original conviction. Because of those legal protections, he was released instead of being returned to the U.S., a decision that remains one of the most controversial parts of this case. To this day, George Edward Wright remains wanted by the FBI, making his story one of the most extraordinary fugitive cases in American